The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Welcome in, everybody.
Hello.
This is a spiritual philosophy chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones, and this is
Samantha Jones.
my lovely wife. And this is episode 4 we are doing today, right, babe?
Yes.
All right. And what is the title of this episode?
This is Free Will, Fate, and Faith.
Free will, faith, and fate. All right. Well, we kind of wanted to maybe cap like we've been doing the last couple weeks, and
Yes.
like last week, and any kind of reviews or comments, good or bad, maybe that you've gotten.
Yes, I had quite a few things. We are up on iTunes, which we are so excited about. And we already have 2 5-star reviews up there. So thank you to the people that put those up. We really appreciate that. The more 5-star reviews and subscriptions that we get, the higher our ranking, and then more people can find us. So we really appreciate when everybody does those things. It definitely helps. And then we also received an email today through my website, and this was one that really touched me. I love these. This sweetie, she said that she would like to remain anonymous, so I will do that for her. But she said, I found your page and podcast last week, thanks to a friend of mine. She told me to listen to episode 1, and as soon as I did, I knew why. The things you've experienced, the awakening, the abilities opening up is exactly what I've been going through. I have listened to all 3 episodes, and it has really helped me, especially parts about telling people about your abilities. I have a million things I would love to ask you, but I don't want to take up a bunch of your time. I did want to say, though, that I would love to hear more about how you, as you say, came out of the psychic closet. Keep up the good work. You may not know it, but your podcast already did what you wanted it to do. It changed my life already, and it's only been a week.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. Thank you, whoever you are.
That was really neat. Thank you so much. And to the anonymous writer, I would love to answer whatever questions you have. That's what I'm here for. So please feel free to email me again and we can chat.
Cool.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, please do.
But I guess maybe I should give a brief description, a little bit of how I did do that, because she was interested in knowing about how I told people about my abilities, came out of the psychic closet. So I could do a few minutes explaining how I did that.
Go
because
for it.
I do think for a lot of people that's maybe one of the main reasons why they don't tell people about their abilities is that they're afraid of what other people are going to think.
Yeah.
And when I first found out, I didn't want anybody to know. And every time that I would tell somebody new, the first thing I would say to them is, please don't think I'm crazy. But it was very hard for me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And every time that Danny would tell me, well, I told such and such, I was like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
I was very shy about it for a while. And then it was the 1-year anniversary of when I had the spiritual awakening. And that morning I woke up and my mom said, guess what's going to happen today? You're going to come out on Facebook. And I did. And it was hard, but the response was amazing. There was not one mean person in the bunch. Everybody was really, really supportive.
Right.
And really even the people that didn't believe or don't believe, they
Right.
even said, hey, be you. Do what you're going to do.
Yeah, it's not necessarily everybody's belief or thought process, but and again, like I said prior to, I wasn't a huge believer in it. I wouldn't say I was a hardcore skeptic, but I wouldn't say it was something I really was a big believer in. And now it's just I can't really even deny it.
Right, absolutely.
It's too wild.
But I think, too, with that question is that your true friends will stick by you. And your friends that, once you tell them, if the ones that stick by you are your true friends that you know no matter where that goes, that they'll be with you.
Right.
It's the ones that leave that are, thank you next.
Yeah.
Bye. And the new ones that come in that you have to be a little bit careful about, because sometimes people want to be your friend for the wrong reason.
Right.
Once you let this out. So those are areas that you have to look for. But with your friends that are meant to be your friends, they're not going anywhere.
No, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter.
No.
And, not that I'm against family and, those kind of things. I really think it's a spiritual connection. So it goes way beyond blood.
Oh, absolutely.
Blood's not, it's important, but I wouldn't say it's any more important than connecting with somebody that you're not blood related to.
Right. Absolutely.
Connection is what's important.
For me, I don't have a lot of family left. So the only real family I had to come out to was my brother. And at first he was like, okay, whatever you say.
What is Danny thinking?
Right. But he had a friend that had recently passed that he had never even talked to me about. I knew nothing about this guy. And I was like, this is how I'm going to prove it to him. And I did. And it took my brother a little while to say that, wow, I never told you anything about him, and you knew, and that's where I knew that it was real. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm sure for family, coming out to family for a lot of people has got to be really hard, because those are the people that, I don't know, maybe you don't want to let down the most, but like Danny said, your friends are just as much your family, and your true family will stick by you too. Yeah.
Well, it's cool. I'm glad you shared that again. So at least maybe this person that gave that comment or review will kind of understand a little bit for you how it worked for you, and it's going to be different probably for everybody.
Yes.
On some level. There was one other review or comment. Did you want to share it?
There was.
Yeah, there was.
There were the two on iTunes. I can share. You want me to read those?
At least the most recent one.
Well, they were both today.
Okay. Well, whatever.
Okay. So let's see. The first one is, I've always had complicated feelings about religious and spiritual topics. Listening to this podcast is helping me work through some of my own weird thoughts to get a more comfortable place with all of the magical stuff in this world. Regardless of your views, this is a non-preachy, super entertaining way to spend some time listening to interesting people. That was very sweet.
That's a cool one.
Yeah,
thank you.
They're all cool. I love to read what you all say. Really, I do, because sometimes for me, I'm like, man, we talk about ourselves a lot, but then I'm like, well, who are we supposed to talk about? If we don't talk about, are we supposed to like make somebody up? So, I think that just comes with it. So I love that you guys. Kind of
like what you said, like coming out, you feel like you're coming out of the crazy closet. You're just sitting here talking about yourself and spirits, and talking with spirits, and hey, I'm glad it's entertaining.
The first time that we listened back to episode 1. That's what I said to Danny. I said, well, we're out of the crazy closet, because we knew that at this point all of our friends were going to think of us different, but we don't care.
And the irony is, my most favorite movie is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So.
Yeah. It was a good one.
All right, so we should get on.
Oh, you want me to read the other one?
Yeah, do the last one.
Okay, and then this one is, I love listening to the Joneses. Sammy and Danny are real and raw and genuine about their own personal stories and the support that they provide to their listeners. They are great at providing insight and perspectives, as well as sharing truly useful and actionable tools, exercises, and thought-provoking conversation. Additionally, they have a beautiful presentation that makes it feel like you are catching up with old friends every time you press play.
Awesome.
Love these.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To you, too.
Yes.
To all three of you.
To all three of you. We really, really love reading these and really appreciate these more than you know.
Yeah. I can't wait to get somebody in here to talk with us. And
I know, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, you know what? Even if, I should see if I can get somebody to come in here and play, a live song,
That'd be cool. Well, and we need to get the spooky-ish girls on. I really want to get them on, but that's more about the haunted side of things. So we'll do that at some point, for sure.
All right. Well, so we should get on with episode 4.
I think so. Oh, wait. I got one more thing. I have a very exciting thing. I almost forgot. I'm giving away a 30-minute reading to the listeners on our page, and I want to tell you that the winner is Jennifer Hemphill. You are the winner. I let the cat out of the bag too soon.
Bravo.
Okay. Bravo. Yay.
Congratulations, Jennifer Hemphill.
Yes. I will message you about your half-hour reading. We appreciate everybody that entered and shared that post. Again, this is how we get ourselves out there.
Yeah.
Without you guys, nobody will know that we exist, so we really appreciate it.
Cool. Awesome. Well, nice of you, and somebody gets something out of it that hopefully they get something out of.
I think so. I'd love to do it.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, so here we go. Episode 4, Free Will, Fate, and Faith.
Yes.
Would you like to start this off?
Well, let's see. Where to begin? Well, what is free will, I guess, is a good place to start. So, of course, you know, me being the one that likes to do research and look things up, I have to get the definitions of everything, right? Because that's what I do. So what is free will? Free will is the power of acting without the constraints of necessity or fate, the ability to act at one's own discretion, freedom of action versus moral responsibility. Free will gives life meaning and purpose. Sounds about right to me.
Yep.
Free will is one of those topics that gets very complicated. I did a lot of research on this and I didn't even realize that there was another side to free will that we'll get into later.
I'm really glad that you do, because it's good. I think it's good to, well, obviously, research and know what you're talking about, but to get other perspectives and opinions about it, you know, and kind of be able to talk a little bit about it all, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't want to just talk like I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
There's nothing worse than somebody sending me an email and being like, you know what you're talking about.
So thank you, because I don't have the patience.
That's what I do.
I just like to sit and, you know, chat.
I know. You're like, you do all the work, and
I'm
then
a
I'll
Jones,
just show
man.
up.
I like to chat.
Oh, yeah. The Joneses love to talk,
Yeah.
let me tell you. I love the Joneses, but they love to talk. Okay, so then we talk about fate, because we got to talk about the difference and how they all intertwine and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so fate is the development of events beyond a person's control, regarded as determined by a supernatural power and attributed to some force beyond scientific understanding.
Okay.
Fate, I believe, plays more of a role in our life than anybody even realizes.
Yes. Again, these are two definitions which can obviously interrupt one another.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And then you have faith, which is a completely different thing. And I didn't necessarily agree. I mean, I can't disagree with Webster's dictionary, right? But for me, faith is a little bit different than what they say here. But they say strong belief in God or in the doctrines of religion based on spiritual apprehension rather than proof. For me, faith is taking fate and free will and going with them. Do you know what I mean? That's faith. That's putting everything that I have and that I can go the way I'm supposed to go. That's faith for me, knowing that there is something bigger and stronger out there that is taking care of me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's to me what faith is, but I guess it's looked at as more of a religious term as well.
Well, I mean, that depends on what context we're talking about. I mean, if you're talking about God or Buddha or Christ or Allah or whatever it is, yeah, I mean, those believers have faith in that.
Right.
But take that word in context, out of that context, and put it into a different context of, I have faith it's going to be sunny tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. That's true.
That's a different...
Right, it's a totally different way of looking at it.
Puts it in a different, weird, not weird, but just a whole different arena.
Different meanings.
Yeah, is faith like... Do I lean on faith when in times that I want to use my own free will more? I wonder.
Yeah.
You know, is there something about me my conscience saying, I kind of know this isn't really the right thing to do or the right path, but I'm having faith that it's gonna work out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So these things can all interrupt each other.
They do, and we have some great examples of different things that have happened. But let's talk about a couple more of these first. But one of the things that I loved that I read was fate and free will act together. Fate brings opportunities, and free will determines whether or not you take them. We must utilize our free will to fulfill our purpose. And that's exactly what a lot of this that I want to talk about does. It takes those two different pieces and it puts them together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the faith is where you take that and you go with it because you have the faith that it's going to take you there.
Right.
Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for us now, we see these things a lot more in our lives. And some of the examples, there was one that I was thinking of. I was looking at this little car about 2 years ago. It was a little hybrid car, very small, but I loved it and I wanted it very badly.
Yeah, you did.
I did. And I would have done anything for that car.
I think we went to a couple dealerships to look at that car.
I loved that car. But I hadn't gotten my car payment down enough to where the payment would have been reasonable, and I would have been basically flipping my last car into this car. So whatever negative equity I had, I'd be paying for in this car.
Right.
That is something that I have done with every single car that I've ever had besides my first car. It is a very bad habit and something that I realize now that I need to break. Didn't realize that then.
Well, and then I would have had to take the jigsaw and cut a hole out of the roof because we bought Zuma.
Wait, I haven't got there yet. That's where I'm going. Okay. So then it gets better because I didn't get the car because the payments would have been too high and I didn't want to do that again. And so something told me, because I could have, I could have been like, okay, that's fine, I'll do that. But I just felt this pull of, you need to leave this dealership right now. This was before that I knew that I was a medium. So it wasn't it was probably somebody telling me, but I didn't realize that then. That was fate. That was my intuition and fate coming together to push me out of that dealership and free will, because really that free will does play in there, because I could have easily taken that car that day.
But your free will chose to listen to your intuition.
Yes, which is fate. So the best part about it is that 6 months later, we adopted a Great Dane puppy. And if I would have bought that car, that dog at 6 months old would not have fit in that car. And he goes to daycare 3 days a week, and I drop him off. So
and he won't lay down.
He won't lay down.
He car surfs. He car surfs the whole way. So you would have had to. I would have to jigsaw cut a hole out of the ceiling of that thing.
Oh my gosh! I am so thankful
because he's like the size of Clifford.
Yes, I am so thankful. I listened to that intuition that I had, and that's a good example of fate and free will coming together. Mm-hmm. I feel. Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think my best example is, my recent kind of career change, just kind of getting thrusted into that situation. And then what am I going with? Am I going with free will? Am I going with fate? What am I having faith in?
Right.
I think the free will said, I can't go back doing that stuff that doesn't mean anything to me anymore. Right. I got to do something that means something. And to some people sitting here and talking on a microphone doesn't mean anything to them, but we enjoy it. It's fun. Yeah. It's good to get good positive feedback. Once I really got in tune with the art, I think that's where I realized how fate was sort of involved.
Right.
Because, again, knowing from a very early age, intuitively, that this is something was important to me and I should be doing.
Right.
And I kind of walked away from it or steered away from it by my own free will for a while to kind of be put back in the situation of, all right, here's a second chance.
Exactly.
What are you going to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really having faith and, some of it's free will and
the
fighting myself,
because it was a tough decision for you. It was, the road was placed in front of you. And that's one of the things about life that I don't think most people understand. And even for us, it's a new concept that everything is placed in front of you, and you have the free will to go whichever way you want to go. Yeah. So Danny had a great opportunity in front of him to be able to try and follow his dreams, and he took his free will and he listened, and so far it has been wonderful.
But again, I mean, it's, you know, as a human being, it can be a daily struggle.
It is.
Of am I going with my own free will, or am I going with what my, you know, intuition, some might want to say it's your conscious, you know?
Yeah.
But I'll go with my intuition, and I can usually feel something different, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And or more, some people might equate it as, oh, I think with my heart and not my head kind of thing. There's two different, that devil angel thing on your shoulder.
Right.
And so I think inside you, we all know what, if we listen close, we all know what the right answer is.
I think so.
And it takes some time. And again, I'm not perfect. I'm just trying to learn every day. And sometimes getting up every day and doing that of, hey, I'm not going to totally abuse my free will this whole day.
Right.
I'm going to try, you know, to listen a little bit more.
Right.
So.
For sure.
Now, there is one fourth category in this topic, was determinism.
This was really interesting because when I went to do some research on this, I wasn't looking for this. I was looking for things to talk about as far as why do bad things happen, okay? Because everybody says, you know, if there's a God and there's this and there's that, then why do bad things happen? So that's really what I was trying to search for. But instead what came up was this determinism, which is basically a group of free will skeptics. They do not believe that free will exists. They believe that everything is predetermined, either by your DNA or some other force. Let's see, what did I put down here? Some philosophers have taken determinism to imply that individual human beings have no free will and cannot be held morally responsible for their actions. God or something in our DNA causes us to act how we act, so we cannot be held liable for our actions.
Huh.
I had no idea that there were a group of people like that. And this sparked a whole conversation between the two of us earlier today because, wow.
What is the word again?
Determinism.
Determinism.
I keep wanting to say determination. I don't know why.
I don't know.
Determinism. Free will skeptics.
I can't. That one's a hard one for me to wrap my head around.
Because basically what they're saying is nothing that we do is done because we want to do it.
Right.
The color of your socks is predetermined by some force. Maybe you're not God. And then it got even more confusing because they started talking about how certain religions have some of this determinism in them.
Right.
Basically saying like that the things that we do in our life are predetermined. So it's predetermined we'll marry this person, and it's predetermined we'll have these kids. So I think that fits with certain religions. I think where I am with that is that I feel like there's things we're supposed to do in our lives, and we're steered towards those things. Right. Where we go with them is up to us. But I don't necessarily think that it's like everything in particular.
Yeah, because at that point, I just feel like then we are a program,
right,
in a computer, and that's really
you have no purpose.
Right. I saw a study that they were actually trying to prove that somewhere by shooting these atoms or something through this long, it's like a space tunnel type thing, but to try to prove that, and I don't know how they were coming. It was too much for me to even understand, but they were trying to prove that we were in some sort of matrix. And maybe when I think of matrix, I think too complex computer, digital. I don't think organic flesh and blood. So is it possible? I guess anything's possible, but I don't really buy it.
I don't either. Sometimes I like to compare the way that the other side helps us as being in a video game, because I feel like I try to compare it to Super Mario Brothers, which I know may sound weird, but you know where you're going and there's a path, right? But sometimes you can take another path and you have to take the right one, or you'll end up at a dead end. Right. But they put things in front of you to help you. Sometimes you don't know if they're helpful. You have to use your free will to find out. You know what I mean? Right. Like, it all fits together.
But
I
could see how determinism creeps into some religions.
I do too.
I can see it. You know, some of their theories and
a little
and
bit,
ideas,
but not everything that we do. I mean, there may be some things that are predetermined. I don't know, but I certainly don't believe that the next words that are going to come out of my mouth are predetermined.
No, it's like, is it predetermined what color car you're going to get next time, or what color dog you're going to get next time?
I don't know.
It just, I don't know. But
yeah, it's just, for me, that's a far-fetched idea.
There's no accountability for anything, and that's where I feel like as humans it's free will.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it boils down to that. You have a choice.
You have a choice.
And there's a lesson to be learned in every choice that you make, whether you see that lesson or you don't.
Right. And it goes back to last week, too, about your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to go through this process that involves fate and free will to get to your purpose.
Yeah.
It all really fits together.
Yeah.
It's like, I really, today, when I was doing this research, my head started spinning. I was like velociraptoring the hell out of myself. I'm like, okay, you have to stop, because you're not going to figure it out. You know what I mean? There's just so many things here that intertwine, and the way that everything works, sometimes it blows my mind.
Yeah.
It really does.
Well, and I think that's, when you do get to the other side, you have my interpretation and feeling from, the connections we've made is that they have such a great appreciation for the mortal life.
Right.
And they really push that whole thing about your free will, but also about listening to where they're trying to guide you and not letting your free will get in your way. That's what I think is man's biggest problem with themselves, is themselves.
It is.
I mean, even when we get down to, a lot of these like shootings, I hate to bring them up, and because another one happened, and it's just like, you've got either mental issues going on, in somebody like that, illness, or you've got free will.
Right.
That's what you have. You don't, in my honest belief, and not to knock anybody else's, there's not demons and people, in the dark realm talking to you to tell you to do these things. If there are, that's your illness.
It's the voices in your head.
Or that's your anger or something that you didn't deal with that got to you. Mm-hmm. And instead of going and trying to do something positive with that, which is probably a lot easier said than done, you take a choice like that and take somebody's life in your own hands. That's free will.
There's a lot that goes along with that too, and I don't want to get too much into this topic because I want to do a whole episode on it. But as far as the borderline shooting goes, I've done readings for a couple of the family members, and one of the girls was not supposed to be there that night.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder why all of that worked the way that it did. Were there signs for these people not to be there? Or was it their fate, their destiny to be there for whatever reason? I think that's where humans get very emotional, and it gets very, very complicated because we don't know how to perceive a situation like this. What would cause somebody to go and do something like that? And how do people end up in that situation? Here's another example. Seth MacFarlane, he was supposed to be on one of the planes that went down in 9/11.
Yeah.
He wasn't on that plane. I don't remember why.
Wow.
But then you look, gosh, I can't remember the other guy's name, and I feel really bad about that. But the plane, there was the guy that he rushed the cockpit and the plane crashed instead of going where it was headed to Washington.
I believe it was the White House.
Now, if he wouldn't have been on that plane, that may not have happened. Yeah. That plane may have gone down and it may have killed a lot more people. Right. So, unfortunately, it may have been his fate to be on that plane, and it was Seth MacFarlane's fate not to be on that plane.
Right. Just another perspective of that is, or he used his free will and chose to give his own life to save potentially a country. Maybe in his eyes, in his mind, he realized, oh boy, we're being hijacked.
Well,
by
I mean,
country.
more like if he wasn't on that plane, if it would have been like Seth MacFarlane, where the alarm didn't go off, what would have happened if he wouldn't have made that flight? Right. I agree with what you're saying too. He was a hero, and him being on that plane was probably a blessing for a lot of people.
It doesn't mean that he didn't. I don't think that he didn't possibly intuitively feel or hear what he needed to do.
For sure.
And he chose, his free will chose to do what he heard to do.
Right.
You know, some people it can be as quick as instinctual.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. And the intuition too, when you have feelings like that, like we don't know what, like maybe somebody else that didn't make one of those planes, or the girl that didn't go to work at Borderline that night, what they were feeling or what they were, because I know for me, like if something bad's going to happen, I get really nervous. And that was started long before I realized that I was a medium. Actually, the night before my mom died, I was a mess and had no idea why I was a mess. Wow. And I think it's things like that. We don't want to be paranoid about them, but we have to look for the signs that
those
go
are
along
extra
with
senses
it.
Again that are you're somehow, especially a mother and child, you know, that connection.
I never would have known that that's what it was going to be, and I'm not really sure why I was feeling that, but there are things that happen that I feel are warnings, and those they're, you know, the intuition talking to us, and if we don't listen to those, that's when things can happen.
Yeah.
We have to listen to that intuition, and a lot of times I think we forget, like if you have a thought that you don't know is intuition or not, let's say that you're at a stoplight and something makes you feel like I should turn left instead of going straight.
Right.
So you turn left and nothing happens. Well, nothing happened because maybe you avoided danger. So you don't know. If you would have gone straight, you could have been in an accident. So some people, I know even for me, I feel like, well, nothing happened, so what was I avoiding? Well, that's the point.
Right.
So always go with those feelings.
Right.
Always. You may not always know the answer. A lot of times I do end up knowing the answer why in the long run, especially now.
Right.
But you may never know, and that's okay.
Yeah.
If you have those gut feelings, you need to go with those.
Right.
That's fate. That's intuition.
Yeah. What's the last one again?
Determinism.
Determinism. I think I believe in all of them on some level, in some strange way.
Right. They all kind of fit together.
Yeah, they can all, like I said, interrupt each other. They can work together. They can work against each other. But the determinism, whatever, is the hardest one, like I said, for me to kind of wrap my head around. However, I do believe that you and I met for a reason.
Yes.
And that on some level it was sort of determined that we have to meet. Now,
right.
If God forbid, and I'm going to be kind of scary here, somebody used their free will and came along and ran you over in a crosswalk.
That would suck.
That would suck. And I hate to use this as an example. I don't believe that it doesn't mean that there's another fate and predetermined or destiny for you. I believe that they work, your loved ones and, you know, the people on the other side work in your favor.
Yes.
To help you, no matter where you're at in your life, because unfortunately free will does exist.
Right.
And it does interrupt. So, you know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe that guy was drinking and driving. He chose to drink and drive.
Right.
And something like that happened. Again, sorry to use that example, but I really feel strong about that I think, you know, just because something horrific or sad happens in people's lives doesn't mean that that's it. It's over.
Right. Yeah, you hear that a lot from people. Well, if these bad things happen, then, how is there a God? How is there this and that? But really, if you think about it, what would it be like? What would life be like without free will? It would be like the other side. I mean, it would be where you don't have to make decisions or worry. That doesn't make any sense.
Seems like the biggest gift in this whole
this
whole life is free will, but the test is, what do we do with it?
That's right.
It's really, what do we do with it?
Yep. Without free will, there'd be no purpose.
No, because I think when you go to the other side, again, like I said, I don't think whoever's in charge is slave driving, but I don't think there's even a necessity for free will on the other side, because you're instinctively and intuitively, you understand you're there to do nothing but good.
Right. These things don't happen over there.
No.
There's no suffering over there. And something that I really got myself wrapped around today was I saw this really horrible picture. And I would usually just scroll right by it, but I had to read the story behind it. And what it was this child in Ethiopia, and she was, I don't know, 2 years old maybe, and she was dying. And there was a vulture staring at her.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Oh, my gosh, it broke my heart, but I had to read the story. And I started thinking about this and thinking, that doesn't have to happen.
No.
The thing about free will is that we all choose to act the way we want to act. And if everybody treated everybody else with respect and we helped each other, these things that we consider to be suffering, which are suffering obviously, those things wouldn't exist because we wouldn't let them. We let them exist. That's our free will. So we as humans should work together to make things better, make life better, make the world better. These kids don't need to die like that.
No, and that child didn't choose that, and they don't want that. But when you're at that age, you're relying on your guardians, your role models, the elders to take care of you.
Right. But there's no reason. I mean, really, if you think about it, there's enough money in this world. Like, if I had the kind of money that some of these billionaires have, some of these things I would try and help so much. Yeah. I mean, I know I can't eradicate things by myself, but there's just certain things that if everybody did a little bit, and the people that can do more did do more, that we could get rid. I mean, some of these things that I put down, like famine and homelessness and animal abuse and overpopulation of animals and child abuse, these are all things that with some changes in our society could all change. Yeah. So we can't blame them on God. We can't blame them on anybody but the free will of humans.
We were put on, as far as I'm concerned, we were put on paradise and left to see what we would do with it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
And we've kind of messed it up.
I think we failed that test.
Yeah, it sucks. And I'm just as guilty, a product of my environment. I watched did what I saw, without regard for so long
we
until,
all did.
You know what I mean? Like you're smoking a cig or flick it out the window or something, and
tossing your gum out the window.
Yeah, tossing your gum out the window. It's like, well, that's just stupid.
Right.
But
everybody thinks that they're entitled to act like that.
Yeah.
If we took that away, if we all were just a little bit more the way we were meant to be, it was
I think really
different.
It's, I've said this before, that whole commercial, like international commercial space flight that they're talking about eventually being able to do, where you can buy it's not like, I think it's a much longer ride because you're not shooting straight up. You're kind of going slowly like a plane up in altitude. But if everybody could get a chance to get away from this planet and get a good hard look at it and realize that it's floating in a vast vacuum of emptiness, and there is no hopping off right now. There's no hopping off to the next stone.
And guess what? It's not flat.
Yeah, I hate to say that.
Sorry. I had to sneak that in there because you know how I feel about
Well, I
flat
snuck
earthers.
that in my most recent painting, which I'll be putting up Friday too.
Yeah, it's
so
beautiful.
hashtag not sorry flat earthers.
Seriously. But no, I totally agree with you because I never had this kind of thought process until recently, and I really noticed, especially because we spend a lot of time out in nature.
Right.
It's something that has changed with us a lot. I've always loved to hike, but now just being outside, like when I'm really stressed and nervous, it really helps to calm, and you start to really understand. I heard recently, I read this article that trees have a heartbeat. I never heard that before.
I believe it.
It's true. It's very small, but I never really thought about how does the water pump up to the top. Yeah. All of these
it's
things.
all alive as much as we are. It just looks different, doesn't talk, Yep. But it very much communicates, it talks, it's alive.
I was also thinking today about we are the way that we are in society because this is how we were raised. And I don't know anything about Amish people or what their beliefs are, but I would love to visit a place like that and hear what they have to say about things like this, what their beliefs are, because a lot of the reason why we believe the way that we believe is just being around what we're around. Do you know what I mean? Like if you took people and you started a new colony and you didn't introduce all of these things like, whatever, I'm not going to get political or stuff. But if you didn't introduce all those things, their thought process would be so different.
Right. That's why I want to go see other places. I mean, not necessarily every country in the world, but just, other places and see what are people's, just a demeanor, perspective, whatever, just that experience to get that.
Find out what different places are like, because the United States right now, I feel, is very much based on the wrong thing.
Yeah, and it's kind of been hidden behind, we're a superpower, and, there's one thing that I know for sure is that change is inevitable and everything changes, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it will always be. I mean, I hope we are, and that's sad. I hope that there's a day where nobody has to use that, in a title, like that you're a superpower.
Right.
How about you're just a really cool country?
Well, for a superpower,
real swell guy.
When I was watching that video today on the determinism, one of the ways that they compared the free will skeptics is that they said that free will skeptics, for example, believe that criminals should not be punished the way that they're punished because they did not make this life for themselves. It was predetermined. So
it's a cop-out. There's no accountability. That is a cop-out.
However, it did show a very interesting statistic that 5% of the U.S. makes up 5% of the world, okay? 25% of our population is incarcerated. Huh. That is the highest rate of any other country.
That's insane.
I believe that the rate in the Netherlands is so low that they don't have any jails anymore or close to it. That's where I want to go. That's where my people are. But I really want to go and see what it's like there in a place where they don't have all of these problems. They ride their bikes. They love the environment. They take care of things. And that's
I think something like the Netherlands said only like 20% are revisit jail a second time. Like,
it's so low they can't keep prisons open. Yeah. And they have no homeless animals.
Right.
What are we doing wrong? This is our free will. This is why things are bad.
That's why it's bad.
Right.
That's really why
you cannot blame God. No. You cannot blame anybody but humans.
Right.
Period.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. It sucks that we all have to connect and tap in consciously together. It can't just be a little at a time,
Right.
Everybody has to get on the same page. That's a hard thing to do,
But you know what? The movie Pay It Forward, I think that they had a really good idea with that
they
movie.
Just went a little too Hollywood.
They went really dark with it at the end. I wish they wouldn't have done that.
But the whole idea, wonderful.
It really is, because you know what? I try to do stuff like that as often as I can, not just like maybe, like I try to buy the person in line at Starbucks behind me coffee, or I do whatever it is, just something small Or like the other day, we went to chop it up. I didn't even tell you I did this. And I had this coin that I got at the Borderline 5K that said something like "There's good in you," or "There." It was very sweet, and I put that with the tip that I left them in the tip jar because the girl that helped us was really, really sweet.
Oh yeah.
So just sometimes little things like that will make people smile,
right?
Because then they pass it on to the next person. It doesn't have to be something big,
right?
But if everybody did those little things and stopped being so selfish, and it would all.
So your mom was a lot like that, and I wish that, I wish I had that more in my life. You know.
Oh,
I'm realizing that now at this age, but.
I'm way more a giver because I love to see how people react to it. And I don't talk about it much. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like the things that I do are just there for me. They're to make myself happy and to make other people happy. And
that's good.
To put good out there, because if that just changes one person's day.
I've heard that before, is do a good deed and don't tell anybody.
Absolutely.
You know, it's a good thing to do. It just spreads this energy. Because you know what? I do believe a long time ago that the humans knew this. They knew how to treat one another, and somewhere it got off track.
Yeah.
You know, it got a little bloodthirsty and a little bit too egotistical, and that rings through in so many facets in the world, know, down to corporations, to households, to whatever, you know. It's just the biggest thing I think you mentioned earlier is, you know, getting out and how am I deciphering this free will as opposed to intuition or where I'm being guided.
Yeah, your destiny,
in my fate. How do I know this? And you gave a great example for me, and I kind of realized in the last week or two that I haven't done is go out in nature.
Yeah.
And that is a huge one. I got to go visit some friends of mine up in Northern California about a month ago, and they live in old gold rush country, and just being around that was so amazing. And I was trying to explain to them what it is for me that I realized and that happens in this process is that when I'm out there, I'm trying not to think about anything. I'm just trying to look and listen.
Yes. Not
listen necessarily to my intuition. I'm listening to birds and the water in the creek.
Whatever you
and the leaves blowing. And I'm looking at the greens and the blues and the clouds. And I'm taking it. What's happening is that I'm leaving something there.
Yeah.
Meaning my stress, my worry.
Your negative energy.
My negative energy. Yep. And I am absorbing something that the universe is giving me that will help me when I walk away from there to decipher my free will.
Absolutely.
Or my fate or my intuition. So it's really like maybe taking a moment not to be, you know, they say every action has a reaction. Mm-hmm. And if we could all think about our reaction.
Yes.
It would also.
Before you act.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's the biggest one for me is like take a moment before I do dumb things, which I'm notorious for sometimes.
We all are.
Is just take a moment, even if that means go walk in the park for 15 minutes or on your lunch break, you know, drive there or somewhere where you can just have a moment. I mean, you could call it meditation. I don't sit on a blanket or a yoga mat out in the woods, you know, in an Indian pose.
Right. Well, I'm not going to lie, I have, but...
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I wouldn't even be opposed to it.
Right. It's very...
You know, find me a really secluded place and I might do it naked. But
yeah, sure.
But the point is that even walking around and same places that I go all the time, I still get something from it.
Absolutely.
I love to go to Corriganville. That's like one of my favorite places in the world. It's an old movie ranch that they used to film a lot of. It used to actually compete with Disneyland, but they used to film a lot of old westerns there, and it's just neat. the rock formations and the trees and just everything. I love it.
Yeah, and it caught fire last year, and so now it's really cool to see the rebirth. And this year there were poppies there for the first time. That was really cool. Yeah. But nature, it does something for you that I wish more people knew, because I think it would calm a lot of people down. Especially if you take your shoes off. It's called grounding. And you just take your shoes off. It has to be grass or natural earth, not concrete.
Yeah, I'm not the big barefoot guy.
I know you're not, but you have no idea.
Snakes. Remember
you're not going to go on a hike.
Not that long ago.
You're not going to go on a hike with no shoes on, silly.
I love the botanical gardens in Ventura. You took a picture of that stone, and it really rang true for me. Is in nature, there's no hurry, yet everything gets done.
Everything gets done, yes.
And that's such a great quote, because I feel like if I could just slow down, think about my reactions with a little compassion, and take a moment to think before my reaction.
Right.
And in that moment, thinking about your free will. Right. Yes, that's your free will. Right. So if this guy says something that offends me, I could use my free will and fly off the handle.
You can, yeah.
Or I could use my free will to listen to my intuition that says,
be nice.
Be nice.
Because it spreads.
It does.
And if you get mad at somebody, or you cut somebody off, or whatever it is, you get that angry feeling going, and then they spread it to the next person. Right. And it's a cycle. Just like the being nice and doing nice things is a cycle, the anger's a cycle too. And I think that unfortunately, for a lot of people, they feel like the anger is easier. Like, I'll tell you, sometimes it's still really hard for me to have a good day where I don't want to just be like, get out of my way. Right. But I try really hard to remember that not only does that affect me inside, but it affects other people, because with all of this, it does teach you, with the free will and with the fate and the intuition, it does teach you to kind of relax more. Yeah. And for me, I handle stress better. In most situations, I can handle stress better, and I can calm myself down faster. Right. And I think that comes with meditation, that over time you learn to just stop and breathe. You have to breathe. And
you tend to have more faith.
Yes.
When those moments when you're feeling really connected and you're really listening, you have a stronger faith. And I think that goes for, anybody that's even practicing religion, when they really feel like they're doing something good. That's because you are doing something good.
Right. And
it doesn't matter whether you're doing it for religion or for yourself. You're going to have more faith because the universe is letting you know you're doing good.
This podcast is a good example, actually, because the first time that I really heard about what a podcast was, I was like, well, that's kind of dumb. Why would anybody want to sit and listen to people they don't know talk about stuff? I really did. That was like my first thought, right? So when my mom said, you guys should start a podcast, like, what are you talking about? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to do a podcast. But I let the fate kick in and the intuition kick in. Yeah. And you agreed to it.
Yeah, when you came to me, I was like, okay.
Sure. And we're just going on faith.
Yeah. Why not?
And you know what? Let's back up with that
a little
story.
Fun.
Well, yeah. But we're going on faith that wherever this is supposed to go, it will. So I want to back up just for a minute, because I made this whole little diagram, and I think that this is a really good example of how faith and free will go together, because we had talked about in episode 1, this lady Maureen that helped me realize that I have these abilities. So I made this little chart about everything that had to happen in order to get where we are today doing this podcast. And even though it starts before this, it really does start with Maureen, because Maureen, her daughter called me to take care of her cat, okay? I didn't really want to do this job, but I did it anyways. Something told me to. So I could have not, and then who knows what would have happened. But I did.
Right.
And then with Maureen, she didn't have to come to me and tell me that my mom was trying to get through. She actually was very, 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 very nervous too, but she decided to anyways. So her intuition was pushing her to do this, but if she would have gone with free will and said, I'm not going to do it, again, we may not be here today.
Right.
And this goes on and on. This chart goes everything that had to happen and every step that I've taken and Maureen took to get there and our paths that had to cross were because we went with fate and free will, or fate and faith, instead of taking our free will and not listening to what we really knew was the right way to go.
And the interesting fact that we didn't share at the first one or this is that once Samantha said, okay, I want you to meet this Maureen in person.
Maureen's the one that told me that I was a medium.
Right. So she's kind of the connection to this.
Yes.
But once Samantha said, I'd really like you to meet her in person, or I'm going to meet her in person, would you come with me? Sure. And she walked in to where we met, and I'm like, I know her.
Yeah.
And she had been a customer where I worked for the previous 13 years. Yep. Her and her daughter used to come in all the time. And I actually had really cool conversations with her. Mm-hmm. So there was this overwhelming, like, when she walked in, it was like someone put a warm blanket over me. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, my Lord, like, she's totally, I understand why now I connected to her.
Right.
For all those years before, I never even said anything to Samantha, like, oh, there's this lady I talked to, because I talked to a lot of million people there.
I used to hear a lot of stories.
So anyways, that was pretty ironic.
It really was.
I knew her, That was a neat connection.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how all of that fit together, but really that's the way that fate and free will and faith works. If you listen to your intuition and go with it and don't try to push the free will, you can have some really amazing things happen in your life.
Yeah. And if you're going to choose free will, try to do something good with it.
Yes, please.
But I think you're right. It's a big difference.
Yes.
Well, we're pretty much out of time. Look, we rambled for another hour.
The Falasso chatter, we're chatterboxes.
Yeah, we're good at that.
Yes, we are.
Okay, well, maybe we should do a little...
A plug.
Yeah? Do you got anything happening?
I don't have anything happening, but I will say that if you are local to our area, which is Simi Valley, Thousand Oaks area, I am looking to do some free in-person readings because I'm trying to get more experience with those, just the one-on-ones. So if you're interested in that, you can message me and we can set that up. So my email is beyondthebridge11@gmail.com. You can also get to my website, which is SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. I have a Facebook page, which is Beyond the Bridge 11. We have our Facebook page and Spotify and SoundCloud and iTunes and all those places you can find us. Spiritual Falasso Chatter with the Joneses.
Nice.
And then what about you?
Well, I do. I finished a painting today.
I know, and it's beautiful. I can't wait for everybody to see it.
I'm gonna put that up tomorrow. Friday, same day we post the podcast.
Day you guys will get this.
And working on a website so I can start offering prints, and I'll let you guys know, when that's up. But yeah, I'm excited. So check out my Facebook page, D Jones Art Collection, on Facebook, and also on Instagram, D Jones Art Collection. And you'll see it. Yeah. I'm not going to say who it is, but I'm excited to post it.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's kind of starting to see how it all blends for me.
If you haven't seen Danny's work, he does. I don't know. You might be able to describe it better.
I mean, it's definitely pop art, pop culture art, but it's illustration, and it's mixed with. I use mixed media, so that means I use, acrylic paints to watercolors to pencils, pens, whatever it takes to achieve the desired effect, I'll use it. Chalk, but I guess it's a little fantasy, a little, I don't know, little reality.
He paints celebrities, musicians.
Mainly famous musicians, mostly deceased. Just people that I've always either were intrigued with or admired, and...
So the way he does it is just amazing. I mean, words can't describe it, so you just have to go check it out. Just trust me.
So check it out on Instagram or Facebook. And this week we're going to play a song. This is from the band Flush. This was the second band that I was in, and this was recorded in about, I think, 1997 with Kurt PR at Proving Ground Studios here in Simi Valley. Guy's been around for a long time. Thank you, Kurt. Still enjoy it. So this song is called All in All, and the band is Flush. Tom Kelly was the singer and guitar player. John Shaw was the bass player. Sam Jones, the drummer, and myself on guitar. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and we look forward to next week.
Yes.
Podcast.
Next week, we're going to talk about intuition and psychic abilities, the myths and the misconceptions and the truth. I'm really excited about this episode.
Me too.
Yes.
Cool. Well, thanks again, everybody, for tuning in.
Yes, thank you so much.
We really appreciate it. Thanks for your feedback. Keep it coming. We want to hear it.
We do.
You know, you got questions. You want to be a guest. Do you have music? Please, we really want to help people achieve their dreams.
Yep,
so if you're a local artist
there.
or band, please hit us up. You can come in and play a song acoustically. That'd be awesome.
Yep.
You want to send us something, send it to Samantha's pages, and we'll get you on there. Take it easy, everybody. Have a great week. Peace and love.
Rusted gear just won't turn. It just keeps glaring back at me, and the headlight lamp just won't